Kanye did not incite violence. He confessed to violence. He said, I beat up women.
Welcome to the John Amanchukwu Show. In this episode, I will react to a fierce debate that took place on the Piers Morgan Show about some of the statements that Kanye West, you know that fella, made over the past weekend. Some people think what led to the maniacal attacks that Kanye West made on social media recently stemmed from his jealousy over Kendrick Lamar performing at halftime. If this is the case, I hope he enjoys the extra time he'll be spending with his girlfriend because he has been booted from major platforms like X, and more are probably soon to follow. And we already know how that's going to go. Besides, many people have labeled Kendrick Lamar's halftime show as arguably the worst performance in NFL history. Once again, Kanye West has gambled his career on trying to prove a point that only he can comprehend. At what point will he stop playing Russian roulette with his future? Watch.
So the truth is, ultimately, we can discuss the First Amendment, we can discuss laws in different countries, but I think in this particular case, the question is really about X and the X policies and what is enforced and what is not enforced and what crosses the line and what doesn't. I would absolutely say, look, I don't even think I saw every single thing that Kanye posted. I don't use X on Sundays, but from what I saw, the vast majority of the posts were certainly egregious, but they didn't cross a line outside of what is within the bounds of the First Amendment. When it gets to something like calling for violence, I think that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
So from what I saw, there were probably like 3 or 4 tweets.
Yeah.
Maybe two, somewhere between 2 to 4 tweets that crossed that line. So I'm not going to sit here and defend Kanye. I will defend the principle of free speech. Like Myron said, I don't think that pornography should be on X anyway. I think that's a whole separate conversation. So I think I can say that I think a lot of what he said was wrong, and I can be very critical of it. But the vast majority of it, I would not say is ban-worthy. However, there were a couple posts where he did cross the lines, and it's up to X how and when they enforce that.
Yeah, and Rabbi Shmuley, I would say that I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, and I'm a big fan of his free speech defense, which I think he's been very proactive in. But I think he's discovered it is very complicated sometimes, because there's no doubt to me that if any ordinary person had been spewing what Kanye was spewing, they'd have been suspended very quickly, as they would be on any social media platform. And what struck me as astonishing, I even directly posted to Elon saying, can you please do something about this? This guy is doing this with utter impunity and quite deliberately testing your limits of what free speech are. And the truth is, there are limits. That's why the First Amendment has limits to it. And that's why you've got to have some limits. Otherwise, people do what Kanye West did, which, by the way, he was doing it to 32 million people, Rabbi Shmuley. So 32 million people were seeing a very high-profile rap star boasting about being a Nazi, boasting about loving Hitler, boasting about wanting to, or ordering people, instructing them to make Jews be their slaves and whip them, saying that bitches deserve to get slapped, trying to sell T-shirts with domestic crimes on them. All of this, I thought, was just completely outrageous, and not a matter of free speech, but a matter of somebody literally spewing violent and criminal rhetoric.
The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees several fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech. This means that individuals generally have the right to express their opinions, even if those opinions are unpopular, offensive, or considered hurtful by others. However, it's important to understand that the First Amendment is not absolute. There are certain limitations to free speech, such as incitement to violence, speech that directly incites violence or poses an immediate threat to public safety is not protected. Defamation, false statements that damage someone's reputation can be subject to legal action. Now we know that might be the case even with Kendrick Lamar's song that he rapped about during the halftime that called out some things pertaining to Drake. Obscenity. Speech that is deemed to be obscene, lewd, or lacking in artistic merit may not be protected. Kanye West's tweets appear to be walking a tightrope, teetering on the edge of what is considered acceptable, although I think he's gone too far. Watch.
I also like Elon Musk, and I'm very grateful to him for having gone to Israel right after the October 7th attacks, being escorted by the Prime Minister of Israel himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, to see the women that were raped, that were beheaded, families that were burnt alive. I was there 1 week after the attacks as well. But I also agree with you that this is absolutely unacceptable. I saw your tweet, Pierce, and that's why I wanted to come on the show. You know, Zuby, and wait, just a second. Zuby and Myron, you seem like very decent guys. So
Myron, you can respond when he's finished talking.
Let me, please, let me speak. I believe respectfully that this interview will live in shame for the two of you for the duration of your careers. Am I really hearing, first of all, from you, Myron, that he was joking when he said he beats up women? Ha ha, I beat my wife, Bianca, and that's funny? What is funny about beating up a woman? What is funny about threatening violence against a people who in the lifetime of my mother were gassed at a rate of 10,000 a day and turned into ash? This interview, respectfully, will be on your highlight career, living in infamy. It is not funny to murder 1.5 million children. It is not funny to rampage through the Jewish community surrounding Gaza, beheading Jews and non-Jews, including Thai workers with spades. I saw their beheaded bodies. For God's sake, there's real consequences to this hate. There used to be an alliance between the black and Jewish communities, knowing that we were hated for no reason other than the fact that we were different.
It's true.
I ask you, Stubby, you believe in free speech completely? If I'm David Duke and I'm saying, you know, in 1964 in Birmingham, Alabama, we blew up churches, the Klan, and we burned 4 young black girls alive. Let's go do it again. Let's organize it. This coming Sunday, 3 o'clock, we're going to burn those black girls alive. And you're going to say, well, he has a right to say it. Give me a break. What you're going to say is that this man is a disgusting, filthy, excuse me, a disgusting, filthy racist. Now, wait, now just a second.
Now, Zuby says it's a giant straw man. Is that a fair comparison? What do you think? Watch.
Kanye did not incite violence. He confessed to violence. He said, I beat up women. And Myron, who the heck are you to say that he didn't mean it? Do you have evidence? You mean he's lying and you're telling the truth? We saw what happened with Diddy. And by the way, the only person here with any dignity in this debate is Choke No Joke, who's saying that this is offensive to black men. Do you guys not understand this is feeding every stereotype of black rappers? I love the black community. The greatest American of the 20th century was Martin Luther King, who died so that people could have dignity. But that's not what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that rappers are into using the word B-I-T-C-H-E-S, and Kanye says I'm a billionaire. And Choke No Joke comes along and says this is offensive to the stereotypes of black men. And it is. And you guys are frickin' defending this. I want to be clear. I'm sick of anti-Semitism. I'm sick of racism. There are white racists, nationalists who hate black people. Some of them are around President Trump, even though I think he's a great friend of the black community, but he has those voices. We have Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson denies the Holocaust, and yet he's in the president's ear. He denies the Holocaust.
All right,
please stop defending hatred.
Okay, I want to come to Choke No Joke in a moment, but I think it's only fair and right that I go to both the people you've just spray gunned and get them to respond. So, Myron, your response to Rabbi Shmuley.
Yeah, again, you know, I find it incredible that he's over here so critical of Kanye West, right? About, oh, he beats his wife, whatever. Meanwhile, you're walking around with a war criminal that's killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people, bombed them indiscriminately, etc. I find it very interesting that you're so hardcore on Twitter about some tweets that may or may not have been a joke, more than likely a joke. Anyone that has common sense, sarcasm, dark humor, etc., versus you're running around with someone that's literally a war criminal wanted by the ICC that's killed tens of thousands of innocent children, right? And then you're over here calling for censorship. I'm tired of anti-Semitism. I'm tired of racism. People like you are the fucking problem, because here's the thing. Americans are tired of censorship. We're tired of being browbeat into being virtue signaling losers like you, who always sit there and try to rage people and say, oh, you go ahead and you provoke problems with people. I've literally seen you do this. You go up to people, you provoke them, and they tell you fuck off, and then you get mad and you yell anti-Semitism. Quite literally, what I want to hear is this. Rabbi Shmuley, until you can actually call people liars for what they say, no one cares about anti-Semitism anymore. You guys run around, use it for everything. We're tired of it. Stop trying to browbeat us and virtue signal saying, oh, that's anti-Semitic. How about this? When you can call someone a liar for what they're saying, then we'll start taking you more seriously. Other than that, you're a fucking dildo rabbi.
What? What is that? He called him a dildo rabbi. Now, if you research him a little bit more, you might find out some more details about that. We'll leave that out of this segment. However, despite his lewd language, he makes an interesting point. It seems like disagreement with the Jewish community automatically is characterized as anti-Semitism or hate speech. Is that fair? Blacks are often told that we can't make everything about race, and I agree with that. Shouldn't the same standard apply to the Jewish community? Watch.
May I respond?
You can reply in a
May I respond?
moment. Zuby, to respond to you first. Zuby?
All right, I'm going to keep it calm. I'm going to take the high ground here because that was a heck of a lot of straw manning going on there, because you know that I did not support what was said. I did not support anything hateful. And I actually very clearly said that I don't support inciting violence. And in fact, that is a clear violation. So you can try to straw man my position, but people can listen to this interview.
You did say that. I heard you very clearly say that.
Freedom of speech means racism. It means anti-Semitism.
It doesn't. Yeah, but the trouble is, Myron, it doesn't mean
I didn't interrupt
it doesn't
you. Myron,
mean you
I didn't
incite
interrupt you.
violence. That's the line.
Myron, I didn't interrupt you.
Kanye West, like any other citizen, has the right to express his opinions, even if they are offensive or controversial. However, this right is not absolute. The First Amendment does not protect speech that incites imminent lawless action. Now, I don't know Myron, the fresh and fit guy that's on there, but I'm not surprised by his position. He doesn't seem to have a lot of respect for women. He seems like a man who doesn't care about anything or anyone, which is an easy position to take when you're not raising a family. No shade to him, no shade at all. Before I had a family, before I had a wife and children, I saw the world much differently than the way I see it today. I have a daughter and 2 sons. Knowing the way young guys today idolize and mimic rappers like Kanye, I wouldn't want my daughter to date a guy who listens to this kind of nonsense. I don't want my son to subscribe to this way of thinking. Besides, because they are not Kanye, there are a slew of consequences that they would face that millionaires and billionaires like Kanye will never have to endure. Kanye's soul has been polluted by his money. As a father, he should be more concerned about the consequences of his actions. Watch.
Interrupt you. Myron, let me interrupt you. Myron, let me respond calmly. Myron, let me respond calmly, please. This is speaking over each other doesn't serve the interests of the public, please.
I understand that, but I'm saying...
Why don't you finish interrupting me and then I'll speak?
Okay, because you've been yapping the whole time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Freedom of
Thank you.
speech.
Thank you.
It's
Myron,
freedom of speech.
Myron. Thank you, Myron. Thank you
Don't talk
for
over each other
showing...
because nobody can hear what anyone's saying.
This is a train wreck. It's a train wreck.
Showing your true colors. You believe that when Jews defend themselves against genocidal acts of violence, that we are the genocidaires. We Jews are never victims. You said that I provoke anti-Semitic attacks. I was recently attacked by someone while I was working on the acceptance speech of one of President Trump's cabinet picks, by the way, it's because he's a friend, did it as a favor, when a crazy Islamist came over and threatened to murder me. It was filmed, it was watched by tens of millions of people. You believe that Jews are never the victims of anti-Semitism. They are the they are the culprits of anti-Semitism. They're the culprits. We invite anti-Semitism. This is the oldest. You have to let me speak. This is the oldest anti-Semitic trope in the book, that we Jews want to shake down the world for money because we're money obsessed. You are saying exactly what Kanye said. Now, I wouldn't stop you from saying it. You're a Kanye supporter because you agree with his ideology, and I have no problem with you saying it because you're not calling for me to be whipped. You're not calling for me to be enslaved. So you can say it. You are a Jew hater and you have a right to be a Jew hater. I agree with, because I'm a free speech absolutist. But Kanye West says, I beat women. His wife was ordered by him to strip naked. You're opposed to pornography and you support what he did at the Grammys to that poor, abused woman? Let me ask you, Myron, why don't you speak out against what Kanye did to his wife if you hate pornography?
Again, I don't like pornography. I don't support it, right? You don't have to agree with someone 100% to still be able to defend them. Like I said before, there's people that hold views that I dislike, but I'll defend their ability to say it because I have freedom of speech. Whether it's racist, it's anti-Semitic, or whatever else, term people want to use, I believe in freedom of speech, and that means protecting speech that you might not like. Also, you lied. You walked up to Sneeko, you tried to provoke him during the election night, and he ended up embarrassing you. So you do go up and try to instigate arguments with people, and then you call it anti-Semitism when they respond to you.
Okay, let me get a choke, no joke. Hang on. Choke, no jokes, be waiting very patiently. Look, you can see how quickly this escalates into a lot of ad hominem attacks. What do you feel?
I would like to say, first, let's I'm sorry, what's your the brother name? Myron? What's your name? Myron, brother, please, we on the world stage, man. I don't know if you're African American or I see you colored. I don't know if you black, African American, but brother, please. Because one, we're talking about race.
Idea's not race. Idea's not race.
Hold on, brother. We're talking about race. We're talking about racism here, right? Now, if Pierce went on X and said black people should be hung by trees and whipped, right? Would you not think that we would not have the same feeling that the Jewish community is having right now with Kanye making these types of tweets?
You know what? I wouldn't really care if Pierce said that, because I would say it's the freedom of speech. He could say that if he wants. I might not like it, but again.
My question to you is, as black people, would we be offended as the Jewish community people would be offended right now?
The question that I have, okay, all right. Is Myron actually black? I don't know the answer to this question, but is he? He looks like he may be a little Egyptian or Middle Eastern or something like that. But is Myron black?
Here's what I'm trying to say. Fuck your feelings, dude. Nobody cares. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. I don't care how you feel. You need to allow people to say what they want to say. If you don't like it, that's fine.
Okay.
But
here's the problem. Hang on. Here's the problem I have with this. Is that Zuby has very clearly drawn a line, right? Zuby, I know from interview. Hang on. Zuby has always passionately defended free speech, as indeed have I. But like me, he draws a clear line when people are inciting violence. There is no doubt that is what Kanye West was doing. And the only member of the panel who has not denounced that is you, Myron. And I'm baffled why you can't draw a line that is drawn by your own First Amendment.
Again, because I have the common sense to realize that he's not talking about really beating women. It's a joke. He's been making tweets trolling the whole day.
Brother, how do you know it's a joke? How do you know it's a joke?
All right, we've heard that line before. It's just a joke. I thought they were joking. It really wasn't that serious. Isn't that what people always say after someone commits some heinous act of violence? It's all a joke until people get violent. Then we realize that the warning signs were there all along. Watch.
It's very obvious a joke.
Can I finish my point?
Have you asked him?
Can I finish my point?
Have you asked him if it's a joke?
Let me finish my point. First of all, brother, listen. Brother, listen. You said, right, that it can be dark humor. You said it's common sense. Everybody don't have common sense. Kanye has fans that will do and follow whatever he does, right? I've seen his career go from the beginning up to now. I've seen people being influenced by him. I've seen people dress like him. I've seen people talk like him. So if he's influencing these hatred things, talking about he's Yadolf, Hitler, and and influencing his audience to hate Jews, influencing his audience to disrespect women, to influence young black men to have their women walk around naked. He has that influence, brother. So when you say, oh, it's just common sense, it's just dark humor, you're saying that because you lived a little to learn to know. The youth, the young black men, they don't know. Like they thought in hip hop, dudes was really killing and shooting and stuff. And they thought that these people were real gangsters. That birthed the drill music. Because when they found out this guy was a wankster, he wasn't real, they had to go and shoot and kill first, then go to the studio. So it has influence, brother. Yeah. And you breaking my heart because I watch you sometimes, and I didn't know that you would be, you're not ignorant, but what you're saying is pure ignorance right now. Everybody know, my Instagram is real choke, no joke, right? I get censored for just telling the truth, being a strong heterosexual man, and I'm censored. What Kanye doing is not freedom of speech, it's hate. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a very interesting point, because a lot of people get suspended for far less than what Kanye said. Zuby, again, I want to bring you back in here. Some people say, look, the best sunlight, and you know, the sunlight can sometimes be the best disinfectant. In other words, you let someone like Kanye spew his vile garbage, and actually the court of public opinion sees him for what he is, and that settles the matter. I got to say, I'm more with Choke No Joke, that of the 32 million people that follow Kanye on X until he disconnected himself, you know, you just don't know how many might have an impression from him that they then want to follow. You just don't know, because they're not all smart people. A lot of people might be easily led down a horrible line of anti-Semitism or whatever it may be because their hero Kanye has said this. What do you feel about the sunlight disinfectant argument?
Yeah, look, I like to know who people are. It's part of why I like freedom of speech. You know, right here, we've got a lot of passionate people on this panel right here. There's people out there in the world who like some of us and who don't like some of us, right? I think every single person on this panel has said things in the past that people would have liked to cancel them for, ban them for, censor them for, and so on. So personally, when it comes to the concept of hate, people are allowed to be haters. People can be hateful. And I support free speech when it comes to people being hateful. I'm like, cool. Like, it doesn't mean I like what they're saying, but they have a right to say it. If someone wants to be nasty about white people, nasty about black people, nasty about Jewish people, nasty about whoever, Arabs, any ethnicity or race, I don't support that. I don't think it's good. But if you're calling, as I said before, if you're calling for violence, or if you're, you know, really, that's my line. That's my line. If you're saying like these people should be hurt or this individual should be hurt, I'm not saying that I support hate, but people have a right.
So if a white man
hateful.
walked up to you and said, "Hey, get out the way," you support that?
I support his right to say it, and he can deal with the consequences.
And you don't feel no way about it. You're just going to go.
I'm not going to.
What are the consequences? You said he can deal with the consequences. But Zuby, for you, what were the consequences?
I'm not going to call the police on him.
Okay.
It could get physical.
Pierce.
In the same way, if someone goes up to someone,
it can get physical. You know what that means?
Wait a second, Rabbi. Everyone, wait. I'm interested in Zuby's response to that. If somebody came up and abused you like that, what you're saying, I think, is that you would deal with it how you want to deal with it.
Exactly. Look, there are all sorts of things. Look, we're all grown men here. We all know that if you go up to a man and you just start insulting him, insulting his sister, insulting his family, calling him names or whatever, we all know that could result in physical violence. It doesn't mean that you're going to run away and you're going to call the police and say that, you know, he was being hateful and so on. And people insult each other all the time, online, offline. There's all sorts of nastiness that exists in the world, and I'm not trying to police it all. When it comes to the concept of freedom of speech, as I said, to me, the line is not hatred. Hatred is extraordinarily subjective. And even when it's clear, people have a right to be hateful. But if people are going to make threats against individuals, or you're going to call on an audience and tell them, hey, get that person, do this thing to that person, go hurt that person, then to me, that is absolutely crossing a line. And that's even why in the First Amendment in the USA, which is the strongest protection of freedom of speech, they recognize incitement to violence.
Yes,
so
they do.
To me, the concept of hate and incitement to violence, those are two different categories. On principle, I don't support the former, but I support people's right to say those things, and the latter
The statement, hatred is extraordinarily subjective, highlights a significant challenge in our society. The interpretation of what constitutes hate speech varies. For example, some individuals consider certain passages in the Bible as hate speech, while others may not. Disagreement with certain viewpoints, such as those of the LGBTQ plus IA community, is labeled as hate speech. My speeches at school boards, and you all have seen it before, in defense of children, has been called hate speech. Hate is very subjective. While individuals have the freedom to hold personal feelings, including those of dislikes or aversion, the expression of those feelings can and should have legal consequences.
I think that's where it crosses
Okay,
the
so
line.
the interesting question for you, for Rabbi Shmuley, I would say this. Do you as a Jewish man, and I've had this conversation with many Jewish people, and many of them do feel this, what I'm about to say, that if the level of hate and hateful rhetoric gets to a certain scale, that in itself can just precipitate violence against Jewish people? In other words, if you encourage and I would say the same, by the way, about that hateful language towards black people, towards Arabs, towards anybody, right? In other words, that the scale of hatred through words can drive violence, even if it's not intended to.
Exactly. We call that defamation. Let's take, for example, how Jim Crow and segregation outlived slavery. You had white racists, especially the Klan, who basically told white men that these black men wanted to defile your women. The Germans said the same thing about Jewish men in Germany. Now, that's one of the things that people feel most strongly about. I have to protect my women. I have to protect my wife. Then we saw lynchings. Choke No Joke made a very good point. We saw all these lynchings. Those lynchings were a direct reaction to, look at Emmett Till. Emmett Till was 14 years old. Arguably the most famous lynching in American history. They cut off his penis and put it into his mouth. We now have his coffin at the Smithsonian National Black History Museum because they said that he whistled at a white woman. Even a 14-year-old boy wanted to rape a black woman. Now, was that incitement to violence? Of course it was. The Klan is all about incitement to violence. When the Klan says that the black man by voting is going to take over the entire South and take your women and take your jobs.
But let's go back and talk about the Klan. He's right. Inflammatory language has the potential to incite violence. Language has been a tool to incite violence throughout human history. We cannot afford to underestimate the power of words. In John 6:63, the Bible says that words are spirit and they are life, which means words are not just mere sounds, but carry a powerful spiritual essence that can impart lifestyles and transform mindsets. Proverbs 18:2 says that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, evil communication corrupts good manners. This is particularly relevant in this case. Individuals like Kanye West, who build their careers on the power of words, should be acutely aware of the potential impact of their speech. Words are powerful. As I close, as you know, I travel the country challenging words and materials that are pornographic that targets our children. I take it seriously. I've shared books where the authors shared a disclaimer to avoid the accountability for what they write. I believe in the principle of free speech, but it's crucial to acknowledge the importance of accountability. The current landscape often lacks sufficient consequences for harmful speech. What if Kanye West faced legal action, such as a lawsuit, if someone harmed their spouse citing his words as justification? He would exercise greater caution in his public pronouncements and tweets. What if Kanye West was sued by individuals who harm members of the Jewish community while citing his rhetoric? Wouldn't he be more careful? Yes, he's lost contracts and deals, but he's lost those before. One company drops him and another picks him up. Churches have even opened their doors to Kanye. The consequences are not real enough. The absence of meaningful consequences emboldens individuals to engage in harmful speech without considering the potential repercussions, and that is a problem. So, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this mess? Do me a big favor. Post a comment in the comments section. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and do me a big favor. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you, and God bless America.